Hi, I'm Akash Chakraborty. Welcome back to another episode of Taxi Chalo. We didn't get to do this last time with Avi, which is that at the end of every episode, we go to a part of the city of Kolkata where they enjoy themselves. And we're back at Rabindra Sarovar with Avi. So this is the first location we're going to be doing, and this is going to be a little different. I'm going to be asking a few questions along the way. Some of it's serious, but for the most part, let's just enjoy and hear what he has to say. I think that's very important given the current atmosphere. We'll get into that. But yeah, I hope you enjoy, and let's jump right into it. So, Avi, why don't you tell me a little bit about why you find the lake to be a very pleasing place for you and all of that? Like in the context of your, sensory overload.
Oh yeah, so to explain just brief context here, autistic people can be very hypersensitive or hyposensitive to certain stimuli. The sad truth about autism is that we are often defined by our worst moments, which would be like how we react to sensory sensitivities that we have. So we can often go into meltdowns because we're hypersensitive to certain stimuli, and but see, this is the bad side of autism. But the good side of it is that what would I say? The good side is that we can find certain stimuli very soothing. For example, me being in nature, just even the sounds of the bird calls. Most people would find it soothing, the moving of the wind and the bird calls. That most people would find being in this natural setting very nice, but it's extra because I'm extra sensitive to it. I can literally get like on my skin. I can feel like my hair standing up. It'll send my body up, and brings me into a sense of elation, a mild elation from it. So this is one of my favorite spots, being in Sarovar, being in this lake. Like I just feel one in nature. And also, if I may talk a bit about Hinduism, about the religious context of it, that if you look originally in the Hindu texts, there was no temples, there was no idols, nothing. You just went to nature, prayed, you meditated. The Lord Buddha did it, the other Hindu saints and ascetics did that. It's at its simplest core. That's what not just Hinduism, but also Buddhism and Jainism is about. That you just went to nature and became one with nature and prayed and meditated. As simple, as minimalistic as you could get. And that's
I was
also
not expecting
and that
is conversation.
I know, but that's also exactly why I love being in nature and being in this setting. And even Rabindranath Tagore, who is named, like this park is named after him, he would advocate for making art. That was why Shantiniketan was made. Ki okhane ge art banao within nature. So
Right.
within the lap of nature. So for many, many reasons, philosophical, spiritual, or even just for mental health, the sake of mental health. And yes, neurodivergence and such. This is one of my favorite spots. I love it.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. It's very insightful to see how you view this. This is a place I myself have been coming to since I was a child, and it's good to see other people also have a sense of wonder about it.
Just feel that wind.
Yes.
It's just going through. It's so soothing and beautiful.
I guess my next question would be, tell us a few things that are objectively true, that, some broad conceptions about autism that are true, and some broad conceptions, whether new or old, that are not true. Like I want you to get into that as we move to our next location.
That's a tough one. Let's see. Yes, yeah. Let's start with the untrue thing. I would say the untrue thing would be, the major one would be that we are problems for society that need to be fixed.
Right.
That is something like I was reading on LinkedIn and Twitter. We've been talking because the US government, there's this guy called Robert Kennedy Jr. And we'll talk more in detail about him, but he has put out...
You can start.
Yeah, he put out some very damaging conceptions about what autism is and what autistic people are. And he talked about, like I said, like how we can't write poetry, we can't go on dates, we can't sit on the toilet unassisted.
Is that true?
Yes. It is that crazy that he has said stuff like this, and he's a high-ranking figure, public figure in the US government, and he said these damaging misconceptions about us. So it's not true. Maybe for 10 to 20% of people with autism, that is true. But again, as I've often said, autism is a spectrum. Like if you have talked and interacted with one person with autism, you know how one person with autism, what his life experience is like. For many, many others, it's going to be different. There's going to be things that unite us all. They're common traits and experiences. But I'm sorry, but I can write poetry. I can go on dates. I've gone on dates. And like, I mean, Bruce himself knows I did poetry. I've done poetry at open mics. And yes, I can sit on the toilet unassisted. Robert, I can do that.
Okay,
So
let's keep moving. Okay, and one thing that you would say is like objectively true. Like this is, yes, like is a fact of life for us.
So as I said,
And try to make it positive if possible.
well, I mean, it's hard to make it positive. I mean, as I said before, that we are often defined as autistic people by our worst moments in life. When we have that meltdown, when we have been exposed to so much sensory overstimulation to our bad stimuli that we dislike, and we've been exposed too much with, we face anxiety. We go into, our brain gets very fuzzy. Our brain, frizzes out. It goes on the fritz. It frazzles out, and that is painful for us to be in that state. And everyone can see that. When we go into that meltdown state, everybody sees that and says, "Oh, that's what an autistic person is like."
Right.
And unfortunately, that is true. Meltdowns are a truth about autism that I would say is just who we are. But that's not a positive fact. I think the positive fact I would say is, oh yes, again, about sensory sensitivities. Most people can easily forget what it's like in nature. Like you can miss out easily on certain stimuli. You can filter it out, you can forget it. But for us, we don't have a choice. Like if it's a very pleasing stimuli for us, like the happiness it would bring us every time, it doesn't fade away. Like if we're hypersensitive to that, it is like a lot of autistic people will listen to ASMR videos precisely because of that, because they have latched on to certain stimuli that they love, that they love being exposed to. Again, it could be the wind coming in, the sound of the wind coming in.
I do have a friend who mentioned that he listens to ASMR to sleep. It's weird for him to say that I have a favorite part in this. So I kind of get what you mean, kind of, but not really.
So in that sense, like I said, like if we find pleasing stimuli for us, like we can go back to it over and over, and like it will always feel like our happy place. It will always feel like a joyous experience for us. Okay. So that's the bright side of it. And again, the negative side would be that for bad stimuli, we'll always be exposed to it. And it's like an allergy. It's like a cognitive allergy for us. Right. That's the analogy I would use. That to be exposed to stimuli that stresses us out, we will always react negatively to it. If exposed too much to it, we'll have a meltdown, an autistic meltdown. And the equivalent of that is in a physiological stage would be an allergy, like an allergic reaction.
Okay. All right, I think from here we're going to move to our next location. So I think we're going to have a little bit of a journey before that. So we'll get to that. Okay. So we are headed to the metro. Tell us a little about how you deal with sensory overload out here. You mentioned that you have something like a sensory deprivation kit or something. What is it?
Right. So my sensory deprivation kit. So as with many autistic people, we develop coping mechanisms to these, as we grow older, to these stimuli that stress us out. So for me, my coping mechanism, my weapon, if you will, was what I call the sensory deprivation kit. Very early, even as a child, I learned that I have to keep my headphones on. I keep my headphones on and play loud techno music, loud club music, rock music, like metal, like I should play that. And that would soothe me and block off the auditory stimuli that stress me out. Typically auditory stimuli, traffic, high density traffic, all the cars honking, beep, 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 beep. That really can bother me. Or it could be just a lot of people chattering, lots of chatter going on. It really, really frazzles my brain out. So if I go into an overload state, I could stop speaking. I could go into a nonverbal phase. I would get migraines eventually after. I could get nausea from it. So because of my hypersensitivity to certain stimuli, it could lead to me to have negative reactions. Right. Like I said, it's like a cognitive allergy that I have. So the sensory deprivation kit, the most important part of that is my earphones. If I never leave my house without my earphones or my headphones. because that's the most important tool in my sensory deprivation code toolkit. So there's that. Number 2 would be my mask. I think especially after COVID, and with the rising air pollution levels, like it can be very suffocating going out there, being exposed to all this car smoke and all the smells from the food stalls and stuff. So the mask helps. After in COVID time, the face masks became popular, and that's become a staple in my toolkit. Number 3 in the sensory deprivation toolkit would be my glasses. I would wear, even like it could seem weird to some people that I'd wear sunglasses, shades late at night, like in malls and stuff.
Right.
But my eyes are receiving.
That gives me new context actually.
The bright lights from all the malls, all the storefronts, everywhere. Those bright lights, my eyes are sensitive to that. My brain is sensitive to that. I won't be able to sleep at night. I'll get insomnia because I was exposed to so much lights. So having this on is very useful because it trains my brain. Okay, like there's less light coming in. It's time to, a couple of hours before bedtime, my brain is trained. Okay, time to go to sleep. So this has also become very useful at nighttime. I would wear it. And also even like in summer, like it's a tropical country that we're in India, Milo. So this really helps to block off the sunlight and whatnot.
Okay, so tell us why this place is like a safe haven in contrast to what's happening up above. Like, why is this a comfort
to
spot?
recap, we just did what did we do? We went to a park and then we went by a huge mountain of trash right by a busy road with all the honking cars. That was really stressful. And this right here is the metro, which is another spot which is very soothing for me. Like it's a stimulating and very soothing place for me. And the reason for that is, again, with the metro cars, as you can see, like it's the hum of the cars when they're coming in, the hiss of the engines, like the closing and opening of the doors. It just cues my brain in somehow. And it's something about machines and the sounds they make that has always been soothing for me. I remember back in college, way back when I was a kid in college, I used to go to the laundry room, which was in the basement of our dorms. And it was so hot in there. The laundry room used to be so hot with all those washing machines and stuff. But it was the sound of all those washing machines going. Like, it was just going. And I would just sit there in the laundry room and I would prepare for my finals. I would write my papers over there because the sound of those machines got to me. So like I said, we're in the inside of the metro. Just listen to that sound of the train moving on the tracks, the opening and closing of the doors, the hum of these ACs. And the sound of the announcer of the next station coming in. It's amazing. It just suits me. I will come in the mornings when there's less rush hour, like there's less people. I'll sit or maybe stand, I'll read a book. I'll just do my emails and stuff. Like I just, after running in the park, in the Chaitown park, I'll just come on the metro and this will take me around the city. And that's how that's my jam. That's how I work out, work a bit, and meditate. It's a very soothing place for me being inside this mountains.
All right, let's go. What do you do?
Table for
Table
four.
for 4, please. Where is it quieter? We need quiet. Over there, is it okay?
Tell me, why do you come to this specific one?
So, this is one of my secondary spots. I would say in general, I love coming to cafes, especially cafes which are a little bit secluded and they don't have as much, as you can see around us, they don't have as much crowd, they're not really crowded. I hate going to cafes which have like, like there are high traffic, lots of people coming and going. I like the cafes, I love cafes especially when there's less, they're quiet business hours, you could say. And there's less people, there's less noise and whatnot. So the idea is, like I said, as much as I used to, like I said, when I was in college, I loved going to libraries. We had a huge library at my college. And I loved being there because it was quiet. There was just, stacks of shelves everywhere with books everywhere, and it was pin drop silence. And you could just walk in that library. It was like 3 floors or 4 floors, that big of a library. And I would just, like walk around, and then I would sit down at my workplace and work, then go back walking, so and forth. So after college, I was like, where do I find this? I tried to go to the US library, the British Council library, and the US Embassy library, but it wasn't my vibe. And usually those places are a bit more crowded. So typically I said, let's go to cafes then. And the cafes I went to, typically I like it at Quest Mall or South City, where it's like huge space again, where I can walk around. I need to, the coffee will amp me up. So I need to walk off the coffee, and that's why malls and other large spaces are very good.
What are your favorite go-tos at a cafe when you're eating or something like that? What do you think?
Favorite go-tos?
Yeah.
Like I said, it has to be in a big mall-like large space. So it could be Starbucks, it could be Costa Coffee. But also this place, Bonafide, sometimes I come here. I also like cafes. The camera's still rolling, right?
I think the rise of cafes in the city is really a testament to that, which is where people need getaways now. You need to have a place where you can step away from, it's not like a restaurant sometimes will just get crowded. But I would say that the city doesn't have enough cafes. Actually.
Oh, that's interesting that you say that. Interesting.
At all. So but I think that food places have always come up and gone in Calcutta. I don't think that this is anything new.
Yeah.
But the sheer need for spaces where that curate good beverages, good food, and a mixture.
And even in history, if we look at cafe culture,
right.
It was a core part of why the Renaissance and the Enlightenment, especially the Enlightenment, it became a huge thing. Because if you read in history, that in Paris and other places in Italy and France and whatnot, all these intellectuals and artists and academics, in the evening they would sit down. They would come sit down at these cafes, drink coffee, and they would discuss ideas. They would share conversations among each other. And it led to a lot of insights. It led to a lot of, just that act of drinking coffee with each other in cafes. It was a huge part of why the Enlightenment became what it did. They would share their insights. So, and in Calcutta too, the same things happened, that when the literati, the intellectuals, when they sat and we call it adda here in Kolkata, adda. But it has an important component to how it's led to movements, how it's led to so much good things that have happened, inventions, movements, you name it. These have happened because people shared, over a cup of chai, over a cup of coffee. They talked and shared ideas with each other. So what we're doing is it goes across centuries back. Human civilization, the advancement of human civilization has been contingent. You could go even back to the old days when over a fire, around a fire, people discussed, hey, I invented this round object, let's just call it a wheel. I think it would be super useful. It'd be super useful to move stuff around. What do you think, guys? Oh, okay, I could maybe move, improve its design here and there, yada, yada, yada. So conversations with coffee.
That's a crazy tangent for
It is a crazy tangent, but this is exactly I'm going a little Joe Rogan-esque here. But it has happened. Amazing ideas have been shared over a cup of chai, over a cup of coffee.
Community. Which is not here.
Chaitown, I think, was created by Beth and William over a cup of chai, over a cup of coffee.
Yes,
so
it was.
There you have it.
I don't know how long we're gonna get away with this, so that's why.
So a quick tip for parents, I would say, that who have children with autism, you should make this thing called a sensory deprivation chart, or sensory sensitivity chart. So make this and map out what kind of sensory sensitivities your kid would have. Even if your child has autism, like what are the things, stimuli they're sensitive to? What are the stimuli that they find as pleasant? What sensations do they find as pleasant? So once you make this chart, you as a parent will know what stimuli your child is hypersensitive to. What will cause them to go into meltdowns?
Oh, that's okay.
Figure that out. That would be so helpful to manage your child and their autism. That would be super useful. Make that chart, sensory sensitivity charts.
Interesting.
Well, Akash, I'm glad that we're sitting down. Like, it's so hot. It's a crazy hot day. So it's just nice to be sitting down in a cafe and just having some adda with you.
Absolutely.
And like, I've seen your previous videos and stuff, the interviews. Like, you should do this going forward. It would be my recommendation to you. That you should do an adda segment. Like, you just sit down at some cafe or whatever and just chill. And just talk about just random tangents and stuff.
I mean,
Because-
it's very much in the ethos of this area, especially like Lake Gardens. Like adda
Exactly.
is very much
Exactly.
the purpose. So yeah,
Like, I mean,
pretty drinks and all of that.
pretty drinks and everything. Cheers.
Thanks, Avi, for a
welcome.
wonderful trip around some of your favorite places. That was fun. That was real. That was raw. I hadn't roamed about this end of the city in a while, right? I got to see some of my favorite places and a new place. So that was fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. Like, it's Autism Awareness Month, as I said. Thank you for doing the sit-down interview. Thank you for going with me. Like, just it's so important to be, to have empathy, to try walking in someone else's shoes. So to all of you who are watching this video and trying to understand what the neurodivergent experience is like, what it's like to be an autistic person. Thank you so much. And yeah, stay tuned for more Taxi Chalo interviews. These are amazing. So there'll be more to come. There's a lot more content to come, so stay tuned. Cheers.
We're done.